Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're digging through Nintendo's past to showcase 10 cancelled games we'll never get to play.
Here we go!
Before we begin, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Super Mario Spikers. Mario has starred in a lot of sports spin-offs, but not all of them made it through production. Super Mario Spikers was in development for the Wii at Next Level Games in 2007, and would have blended wrestling with volleyball. The team had already proven itself with the Mario Strikers series, though Nintendo had some issues. While Super Smash Bros. Took a more stylized and fantastical approach to combat, Nintendo felt what it saw from Spikers was a bit too realistically violent for Mario's family-friendly image. And so, the pitch was rejected, with only some concept art and brief footage showcasing some animations remaining. Icarus.
Okay, whatever. Do what you're gonna do.
What kind of attitude is that to have? I can take anything but a dip.
Okay.
Prior to receiving an underrated gem of a reboot in the 3DS's Uprising, the Kid Icarus series was considered to make a return on the Wii. Tentatively titled Icarus, it was being worked on by Factor 5, the same studio behind the Star Wars Rogue Squadron series. The team was taking a grittier approach, aging Pit up and having him defend Earth against an invasion following his banishment from his home.
Well, this is confusing.
It isn't called the Labyrinth of Deceit for nothing, Pit.
Through the use of the Wiimote's sensor and a focus on aerial combat, which Factor 5 had perfected in previous games, Icarus could have been a solid return. However, Nintendo chose to end funding once they saw a playable prototype, thinking the mature approach was too different from the rest of the series.
You did it!
EarthBound 64. Fans of the Mother series have known their fair share of disappointment. In the mid-90s, a new game was in development for the Nintendo 64 DD, a disc-based peripheral. When that bombed in Japan and was discontinued, development on EarthBound 64 switched to the regular console. Sadly, it wasn't meant to be. The team had a lot of grand ideas, and higher-ups at Nintendo were concerned it would take too many resources while they were preparing for the launch of the GameCube. Shigeru Miyamoto once estimated that around 60% of the game was completed at the time of cancellation. While it would later be reworked into Mother 3 for the Game Boy Advance, that's clearly very different from what it started as. Super Mario's Wacky Worlds. Super Mario World is still considered by some to be the best 2D Mario, and it almost got a sequel not even made by Nintendo. Wacky Worlds was a spiritual successor to the SNES Classic, in development for the Philips CDI, a platform most famous for awful Zelda and Mario games that were the result of a failed deal between the two companies. However, everything we've seen from it looks solid. Developer Nova Logic kept the same style, but the game would have taken Mario to some real-world locations, like ancient Greece, as well as completely unique ones. Although Nintendo was impressed with the prototype, the terrible sales of the CDI caused them not to go through with it. Project Hammer.
They should be like, they don't do anything. They're used to the bonds.
The Wii was Nintendo at its family-friendliest, but it still got a handful of darker titles, mostly from third-party developers. However, one that never saw the light of day and would have come from Nintendo itself was Project Hammer. Nothing is known of the story, but it would have used beat-em-up mechanics with a Musou style similar to Dynasty Warriors.
Fight me now, for glory!
Unfortunately, there were a lot of issues behind the scenes. Senior leads reportedly ignored input from American developers, resulting in a change to a cuter art style despite the game initially being made with Western players in mind. When Nintendo looked into it, the team's low morale and lack of direction caused them to cancel it. Super Donkey. Here's an odd one. Super Donkey is a cancelled platformer that was in development for the Super Nintendo during the early 90s. Anyone familiar with Yoshi's Island can immediately tell that this is where it got its gorgeous art direction from. Footage shows a Rayman-like figure before that character's actual debut with limited flight capabilities. But there's still a great deal that remains a mystery. Most of us didn't even know it existed until the massive Nintendo leak in 2020. We're also not sure why it was cancelled. Some believe it would have been a Donkey Kong spin-off given the name, theorizing that the protagonist was that of Sky Skipper, an arcade game that used Donkey Kong as an enemy. Donkey Kong Racing. Speaking of Donkey Kong, the Great Ape nearly got his own racing game on the GameCube. Following the success of Diddy Kong Racing on the N64, Rare began work on a successor. It was announced at E3 2001 and would have featured most members of the Kong family. The pre-rendered trailer also made it seem we'd be racing on the backs of animal companions from the DK series rather than carts, planes, and boats. Sadly, that trailer was all we ever saw of it. Rare was purchased by Microsoft not long after, causing the cancellation of Donkey Kong Racing. Kid Kirby. Kirby has starred in a lot of games, and he's had a lot of games cancelled. But one of the more interesting what-ifs is the Super Nintendo's Kid Kirby. As a prequel to the overall series, it would have followed a younger Kirby and featured a Prince DDD, among other original characters and enemies. Interestingly, the game was set to release in late 1995 and was being developed by DMA Design, which would later evolve into Rockstar North of GTA fame. According to designer Mike Daly, players would have used the Super Nintendo's mouse peripheral to stretch Kirby and fling him across levels. Low sales of the mouse are thought to have been the biggest contributing factor in its cancellation. Retro Studios' Boo Game. Retro Studios is known for its incredible work on the Metroid and Donkey Kong franchises, but the team has tried to branch out to other Nintendo IPs in the past. During the DS era, the studio planned a pitch to Nintendo on a spin-off idea focusing on a Boo from the Mario series. It would have followed the ghost after graduating from Haunt University, featured a signature possession mechanic, and would have had players go up against villainous witches. The concept honestly sounds great, but it sadly didn't get very far. The idea came from leads at the company, and it was cancelled after they left to form a new studio. All that remains is some fantastic concept art. Heroes of Hyrule. In addition to the world of Mario, Retro also tried to get some Zelda spin-offs off the ground. One was a chic-centric Wii game with some truly incredible concept art, but with gameplay that didn't sound that enticing. However, everything we've heard about Heroes of Hyrule makes us wish we could have played it. It would have been a strategic spin on the franchise, borrowing elements from games like Final Fantasy Tactics. Players could have jumped between two time periods, a present-day one of a new character named Corey, and the past that focused on a Goron, Zora, and Rito warrior. According to engineer Paul Tozer, the pitch was immediately rejected by Nintendo, with no clear explanation as to why except that it just wasn't interested. Which of these cancellations do you wish had been released? Let us know in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to MojoPlays for more great gaming videos.
Do I detect a note of smugness in your voice?
No. I'm just really happy I can fly.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, there's more where that came from.